Well, hello. Welcome to my story channel. I'm Grammy Fox. I have a story ready for you, so please sit back and relax and listen as I tell you about Bossy Betty. 5-year-old Betty ate her peas and said nice things like, "May I?" and "Thank you." But one day things changed and something very odd happened. Would you like to know what happened? Betty sat in art class with her best friend, Emmy Lou. They each had a paint kit and a piece of canvas. Emmy painted pretty butterflies on her canvas when Betty reached over with pink paint dripping from her brush and swiped it across Emmy's canvas. "No," Betty said, "butterflies should be pink." "God made butterflies blue too. I saw some in my granny's garden. You ruined my picture, Betty." The art teacher saw the whole thing. "Betty, give your canvas to Emmy Lou, since you've not painted on yours yet." "But I don't want to," Betty said. "It is the right thing to do," said the art teacher. Betty passed her canvas to Emmy. "There, I hope you're happy," she replied, but her words sounded funny because her tongue stuck out when she said them. If Betty tried to be funny, Emmy didn't laugh. At lunchtime, Betty and Emmy sat together. The school served chicken salad sandwiches, a bag of chips, and an apple. Emmy tried to open her chips, but she couldn't pull hard enough. Betty grabbed the bag out of her hands and said, "You're doing it wrong, like this." She pulled both sides and the bag exploded, chips going everywhere. "Betty, you ruined my chips," Emmy exclaimed. "Here, take mine," she said and tossed hers to Emmy. "Mine were plain and yours are sour cream. I don't like sour cream," said Emmy. "Eat them anyway," replied Betty, and her tongue stuck further out of her mouth, hanging down to her chin. "That's gross. You are not funny, Betty." "Will you please put your tongue back in your mouth?" said Emmy. "I can't," replied Betty. "What? I can't understand you," said Emmy, frustrated, and she got up and moved to another table on the far side of the lunchroom. Why would she leave? Betty thought. Emmy tried to avoid Betty the rest of the afternoon. Avoid means to keep away from. Betty did not take the hint from Emmy that she did not want to be with her. So at recess, when Emmy played Build a Tower with another friend, Betty pulled the last block away from Emmy and said, "Like this." Crash! The tower tumbled down, and Betty's tongue got even longer, and she got drool all over the place. "Betty, I have had enough. You are not my friend." Emmy stomped off to the book nook to read quietly. Nobody else seemed to notice Betty's tongue hanging out of her mouth down to her shirt collar. She began to think she had a problem. She tied a scarf around her neck to hide her tongue and soak up the drool. When the school day ended, the kids got on the bus. Emmy did not save Betty a seat. Betty had to sit next to Herbert. Nobody liked to sit next to Herbert because he picked his nose and wiped his boogies on other kids if he didn't eat them first. He picked his nose and wiped it on Betty's tongue. "Gross! You keep your hands to yourself," she commanded, and her tongue grew even longer, all the way down to her belly. Of course, he did not understand what she said and just laughed. "Stop laughing at me," she shouted, and her tongue stretched down to her knees. She stood up and shook her fist at Herbert. The kids were all looking at her. Their mouths were wide open in surprise at what they saw. "Stop looking at me!" Her tongue touched the floor now. Do you know how nasty school bus floors are? A wad of chewing gum with hair and lint stuck to her tongue. And when the bus stopped, Betty headed to the front and tripped on the mass of pink hanging from her mouth. She backed down the steps and out the door, but her tongue did not follow. She yanked hard and it flew out like a rubber band and landed splash into a mud puddle. Could this get any worse? She thought. She managed to pull it out of the puddle, but when she turned around, she dropped it into a pile of dog poo. If you were thinking yuck, you are right. Betty sat down and started to cry. Emmy had gotten off the bus. She may be upset with her friend, but she didn't like to see Betty cry. She took her jacket off and scooped up Betty's tongue in it. "Let me help you, okay?" she kindly asked. Betty nodded yes. Big tears streamed down her cheeks. "Let's get you cleaned up," Emmy encouraged. They reached Betty's house, where Emmy stretched Betty's tongue out on the grass, took the garden hose, and sprayed it off. "All better now?" she asked. "I don't know what's wrong with me," Betty tried to say. "My daddy's teaching us about the tongue in nightly devotions. Proverbs 21:23 says, 'Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles,'" quoted Emmy Lou. "I don't know if there are any verses about being bossy." "I'm bossy?" asked Betty. "Sometimes, once in a while, but mostly all day today," replied Emmy Lou. "I'm sorry," Betty apologized, crying again. "I forgive you." Emmy Lou hugged Betty, and when they separated, Betty's tongue had shrunk back into her mouth where it belonged. After asking permission from their parents, Betty listened on the phone when Emmy Lou's dad did nightly devotions. She learned a lot about the tongue and how to control it. She also tried hard not to be bossy anymore. Betty and Emmy Lou were not friends anymore. They were best friends. Now, I hope you liked that story and it gives you something to think about. We're not supposed to be bossy. And we're supposed to say nice things and be kind to one another. And I'd like to say something nice to you before I go. You are special and you are loved.